After my adoptive parents died, I drifted from place to place, living under other people's roofs, enduring their disdain and ridicule, until the year I turned 15, my biological parents found me, and I unexpectedly became the heir of a wealthy family. But what I didn't foresee was, what I thought would be a joyful reunion full of tears, turned, by the third year after we met, into despair so deep that I walked up to the rooftop, and, before their eyes, jumped down, hoping that my death would punish them. My soul hovered in the air, wanting to see how my parents, who always despised me, would cry in regret and remorse. Yet my father merely shook his head disdainfully, and said to my corpse, "Childish." My mother pressed her lips together, and exhaled in relief, as if a burden had been lifted. My sister even gave a disgusted ugh, telling my father to quickly have someone clean up the scene. The only one showing grief, almost in tears, was the fake young master, but in his eyes, I clearly saw satisfaction. And my family, they all said it wasn't his fault, that I had brought this upon myself. I stood frozen for a long time, then let out a bitter, self-mocking smile. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the moment I had just been brought home. Chapter 1. After realizing I had been reborn, I sat in silence for a long time. In front of me, my parents spoke with reddened eyes, expressing the guilt and longing they had carried for years. They had missed me for 10 whole years. In my previous life, when I found my biological parents, I was overwhelmed with emotion. We hugged and cried together, and foolishly, I thought, I finally had a home. I thought I was finally a child with a loving father and mother. However, 3 years later, that fantasy shattered. My heart turned to ash, and I stepped off the rooftop in front of them, ending my life in despair. I had thought my death could punish them, but they never cared about me. Why would my death cause them any pain? All I did was punish myself for someone else's sins. So now, I felt nothing at all, calm as a piece of wood. Sweetheart, are you still trying to adjust? It's okay. Mom will take you to pick your room first. Choose whichever you like. Seeing my silence, my mom led me upstairs to the 3rd floor. My dad followed with a smile, calling my sister, Alicia, urging her to come home quickly. Alicia replied impatiently, "Ugh, I don't have time. I'm hanging out with my friends." My dad frowned in displeasure, and my mom, looking awkward, explained to me, "Your sister's busy. She might not be back for a few days." In my previous life, I believed her. In this life, it didn't matter anymore. Believing her again wouldn't change anything. When we reached the 3rd floor, each room was bright and luxuriously decorated. My dad smiled and said, "George, go ahead and pick. You can stay in any room you like." My eyes locked onto the room nearest the stairs. On its wall hung a family photo, and my picture had been photoshopped into it. In my last life, I was instantly drawn to it and foolishly thought it meant my parents truly loved me. So I chose that room. I liked that family photo. However, my parents' expression subtly changed. They exchanged glances before quickly smiling again. "George, we forgot to tell you," my dad said. "This room actually belongs to your brother, Makoto." When Makoto heard you were coming, he cleared out his own room and said you should choose whichever you like. You should live in the biggest one. My eyes welled up with tears. A deep, unspeakable gratitude filled my chest. "Makoto's giving up his room for me," I said, moved beyond words. I still like that family photo, still like that room. My parents looked at each other again, hesitating to speak, but I, overwhelmed by emotion, had already stepped inside, staring blankly at the picture. Just then, Makoto came home with his backpack. Chapter 2. Makoto was the same age as me, 15. He was far more mature, not as naive or ignorant as I was. Seeing me in his room, he frowned slightly, then forced a light-hearted smile. "I heard my brother came home," he said. "I took a day off and rushed back. You like this room? Then it's yours." After saying that, he lowered his head and sighed softly. My parents noticed every subtle change in his expression. My mom quickly came in and tried to persuade me. "George, why don't you pick another room? This one's too big. I don't think it suits you." I asked. "Why not?" I was confused, and faintly sensed something strange in the atmosphere. But how could I have understood what was wrong back then? My parents had cried for me and shown such care. Makoto had even emptied his room so I could choose. I was their biological son. Was it wrong to choose the room I wanted? So, I was full of questions. My mom's expression changed again, as if she wanted to speak but stopped herself. My dad grew more stern, but said nothing. Makoto stepped forward to ease the tension. "Brother, it's fine, stay here. This house is yours too. You can live wherever you want." Chapter 3. I settled in. In the village, all I ever did was feed pigs or work the fields. Even after coming to the city, that was still all I knew how to do. But in the city, there were no pigs to feed, no fields to till, so I didn't understand, what was I doing wrong? I had only lived in Makoto's room for half a day before my sister Alicia came back and scolded me harshly. She stormed in, snatched the book from my hands, and threw it onto the floor. With clear disgust in her tone, she snapped. Where did this uncultured stray kid come from? This is Makoto's room. The dove occupies the magpie's nest. How shameless can you be? I froze. Not just because it was my first time meeting my sister, but because I truly couldn't understand. How did I end up occupying someone else's nest? So I called for our parents. They hurried upstairs, while Alicia struck first. Mom, Dad, what were you thinking? This is Makoto's room. Treating them differently like this, don't you see how much that hurts Makoto? My parents' faces twisted with conflict, unsure what to say, but I caught it, a fleeting flicker of irritation in my mother's eyes. The way she looked at me, I froze. That look was so familiar. After my adoptive parents passed away, when I lived with my uncle's family, my aunt used to look at me the exact same way. So that's what I really was, the dove that took another's nest. Chapter 4. Once upon a time, I too had a happy childhood. My adoptive parents were humble farmers, yet they gave me the purest love. They didn't have much money, but they always saved the best for me. However, when I was 6, tragedy struck. A sudden car accident took them both away, leaving me an orphan, forced to drift from one relative's home to another. Growing up under someone else's roof was never easy. I endured scornful looks and endless ridicule. I once believed that finding my biological parents would be the salvation of my miserable life, but I never expected that it would only mark the beginning of another cruel fate. The dove endured in silence, standing on the wire year after year. After countless hardships, it finally realized the truth. Things once lost and later found are like unexpected windfalls. They surprise you only because you had already given up ownership of them. In the end, the dove jumped off the building. How foolish it was. This time, I must not be foolish again. This time, I won't fight, won't compete, and I will no longer treat them as my family. A faint smile crossed my lips as I pointed toward the smallest room at the far end. I'll take that one, I said. My parents froze for a moment, then forced a relieved smile. Pretending to scold me, they said, "That's the storage room. Why pick that? Choose another one." "I'm used to small rooms," I replied. My tone tinged with a hint of self-mockery. They sighed, then agreed. Just like that, they calmly allowed their biological son, the one who had been missing for 10 years, to live in the storage room. The fake young master, Makoto, returned just in time. He came upstairs, surprised to see me settling into the storage room. I glanced at him, my face calm and unreadable. He thought I didn't know that he had deliberately edited that family photo, luring me into choosing his room. From the very first day I came home, he had already planned everything. He took 3 years to drive me out of this house, and I, through my own death, finally understood one truth. The best way to find redemption is to save yourself. The best way to feel love is to love yourself. Chapter 5. I moved into the storage room and closed the door. Makoto brought over the family photo and said, "Brother, I prepared this especially for you. Please, take it," I replied. "I'm not interested in fake photos, thanks." Speaking through the door, I took out the books I'd brought from the countryside. From the moment I was reborn, I already had a plan. I would save myself. I would love myself. For me now, the best way to live is to learn, to grow, and to become independent. Makoto spoke again from outside, voice uncertain. "Brother, are you upset with me? I understand. I'm the one who occupied someone else's nest." After all, he seemed to be talking to me. But in truth, his words were meant for our parents. As expected, my mother rushed to comfort him. "Your brother's probably just tired. Don't overthink it," my father added. "Makoto, don't think that way. In this family, no one has occupied anyone else's nest." What a joke. Of course someone had. It was me. Chapter 6. When I woke up, the villa had fallen silent. The housekeeper told me, "Madam's in a bad mood, and master went shopping with her." I simply said, "Oh," and thought, good for them. Then, I started organizing the cash gifts, money given by my parents and relatives when they came to bring me home. Altogether, it was over 100,000 yuan. I planned to save it, because the days ahead wouldn't be easy, and this money was my only capital. The village chief had helped me open a bank card before, so I took it and went to a nearby bank. Having suffered for 3 years in my previous life, I was already familiar with the area. I wouldn't get lost this time. When I reached the bank, a tall woman in a black dress walked out, followed by the bank manager in a suit, bowing and smiling respectfully. I stopped in my tracks. The woman was my sister, Alicia. In this life, it was our first meeting, but she recognized me. After all, she had seen my photos and videos. She glanced me up and down, rolled her eyes, and said, "George?" "Yeah," I replied lightly. The bank manager's eyes lit up, and he asked enthusiastically, And who might this be? Alicia let out a cold snort and snapped. What's it to you? Why are you asking so much? The manager chuckled awkwardly and hurried away. Alicia turned back to me. So, you just got home, and you're here for what? I shrugged. To deposit money. I answered truthfully, walking over to get a queue number. Deposit money? Those cash gifts? Alicia sneered. I thought you'd hand them to mom and dad for safekeeping. That's what we all did as kids. I didn't respond. Alicia gave a short, disdainful laugh. You sure are greedy. But remember, you can cling to your own money all you want. Just don't touch what doesn't belong to you. Exactly the same as in my previous life, the first week after I returned back then. Alicia had lost a gold necklace, and immediately accused me of stealing it. In her eyes, I was uneducated, obsessed with money, and a walking disaster. And now, even though the necklace hadn't been lost yet, she had already passed her judgment, but I neither argued nor cared. I was just there to deposit my money, nothing more. Alicia snorted one last time and walked away in her heels. Chapter 7. That evening, my parents and Makoto were all home. They were helping me choose a school. The brochures spread out before us were all elite, aristocratic academies. I immediately made my own choice. I don't want to go to a private elite school, I said. I want to attend C-City No. 1 high school, a key public high school, study hard, get into college, leave this house. That was my plan. I had no desire to be some wealthy heir, and even less interest in competing for family inheritance. My parents looked surprised. Makoto struggled to hide the smirk tugging at the corner of his lips as he said, "Brother, we don't need to go to ordinary schools. We don't even need to take the college entrance exam. We're supposed to study abroad in the future." My mom chimed in. "That's right, George. You and Makoto can both attend Blue Sky Academy. We'll take care of your future for you." My dad's eyes flickered, deep in thought. I knew exactly what he was thinking. In my previous life, I had attended Blue Sky Academy and instantly became famous. Not because I was exceptional, but because I didn't fit in at all. A boy from the countryside studying alongside the sons and daughters of C-City's richest families. I stood out like a weed in a rose garden. When people found out I was the Wang family's long-lost heir, they came just to laugh. They saw I was dark-skinned, skinny, and plain-looking, a textbook poor loser who didn't belong in their world. Makoto only fueled the fire. He not only got others to pick on me, but even paid the class beauty to talk to me. When I finally let my guard down, she suggested a night run, and then accused me of harassing her, of trying to assault her. I became the school's laughingstock overnight, dragging the Wang family name through the mud. My father was furious. He slapped me so hard I fell to the ground. He shouted, "I knew this would happen when I let you attend that school. You've completely disgraced our Wang family." My father cared about one thing, saving face, and I had torn that mask apart. Now, in this life, he was thinking about that same face again. Makoto could uphold it, but me. I only like public schools, I said firmly. Let me attend C-City No. 1 high school. My mother opened her mouth to argue, but my father cut her off. Enough. Let the boy decide for himself. If we love our children, we shouldn't force them. I almost laughed, but held it in. The laughter that never escaped my throat curled into a cold, bitter ache in my heart. Chapter 8. I started high school. C-City No. 1 high school. It was the farthest school from home. So after 2 weeks of classes, I took the chance to propose that I live on campus. Everyone at the dinner table looked surprised. Alicia glanced at me with that mocking tone of hers. Live on campus? George, why do you seem so distant from mom and dad? You've been home for over half a month now, still not used to it. How could I possibly get used to it? In my last life, I endured 3 long years here, and even then, I never got used to it, I said calmly. Living on campus makes it easier to study. My voice was flat, emotionless. Alicia pressed her lips together and said nothing. My mom looked worried. George, is there something you want to tell us? I just feel like you don't fit in with us somehow. Yeah, we don't fit, and the less we see each other, the better, I replied. It's really just to study better, I explained again, evenly. Makoto lowered his head, his tone low and pitiful. Brother, you must hate me, right? How about this? You don't have to move. I'll live on campus instead. That way, I won't bother you. Then he stood up and pretended to pack his things. I smiled inwardly. Makoto, you're in such a hurry. For the past 2 weeks, he had been trying to provoke me every chance he got, either to anger me or to slander me, but I didn't react. I didn't compete. I stayed calm, like an otter drifting with the current. He couldn't find a way to deal with me. Now that he'd finally found a chance to act pitiful and retreat strategically, he put on his perfect little performance. Anyone with half a brain could see through Makoto's intentions. And of course, my parents did too. They just didn't care. Alicia frowned. Why should you live on campus? Makoto, you didn't do anything wrong. Makoto sighed softly and sat back down. My dad took the opportunity to end the discussion. Well, since George wants to live on campus, let him. It's not a big deal anyway. Of course, it wasn't a big deal, because in my previous life, I had done the same. To be exact, I had lived in a small rental apartment near the school. Back then, Makoto had provoked me over and over again. Until one day I finally lost control and fought back. We tumbled down the stairs together. I was fine, but Makoto hit his head and bled heavily. For a brief moment, I felt relieved, even triumphant, but when the family came running over, I realized just how wrong I was. My mom rushed to lift Makoto up, tears streaming down her face in worry. My dad grabbed me by the collar, shouting furiously, "George, what's wrong with you? Are you a mad dog?" Alicia was there too. Without a word, she slapped me hard across the face. "This isn't the countryside. Who allowed you to fight like a wild dog? Apologize to Makoto." Chapter 9. The whole family's anger poured onto me. I had no choice but to apologize. Makoto, ever the actor, seized the chance to play the victim. He started packing again, saying, "My brother clearly hates me. I'll just move out and stay somewhere else." Of course, my family rushed to stop him, pleading with him to stay. I just stood there, dazed, trying to process it all. Alicia glared at me. "You're the one who hit him. If anyone should move out, it's you." That's when it hit me. No wonder my parents always looked at me like they had something to say but never did. So that's what they wanted all along. For me to be the one to leave. It was like being struck by lightning. Everything suddenly made sense. In the end, I was the one who moved out. Forced to leave my so-called family behind. That small rented apartment, I lived there for 2 whole years. As the memories faded, I quietly went upstairs to pack my things. This time, I would leave earlier, just as they wished. Chapter 10. So, at 15 years old, I rented a small apartment near C-City No. 1 high school, choosing not to live in the school dormitory. Only the driver, Marco, helped me settle in. He looked puzzled and asked, "Young Master Wong, you're living here alone. Why didn't Master and Madam come with you?" Of course, they wouldn't come. Makoto had expressed interest in learning about the family company today. So my parents were busy taking him to get familiar with it. Seeing my silence, Marco tried to smooth things over awkwardly. "They're probably just busy, you know. Once they're done, they'll come see you." But Marco was wrong. My parents never came. My mother only gave me a single phone call. "George, have you settled in?" she asked. "Oh, you're still so young, living alone outside. Mom really worries about you." I told her I'd settled down fine. She sighed several times after that but said nothing more. You see, without 70% love, how can there even be 30% of words? After hanging up, I looked around the small apartment that now belonged entirely to me. And for the first time, I smiled sincerely. I no longer had to be the dove. The days that followed were simple. Eat, sleep, study, a steady rhythm of 3 points forming a straight line. No need to think about family matters anymore. They didn't think of me either. More than a month passed, and I didn't receive a single call. It was as if everyone were dead. Later, I ran into Makoto. On my way home from school, I saw him riding a motorcycle, leading a noisy pack of followers through the streets. So bold, so arrogant, it stunned me for a moment. As a rich second-generation heir, riding a motorcycle around like that was strictly forbidden. If our parents found out, they'd definitely scold him. He seemed to notice me too. He revved the engine and pulled up right in front of me. Before I could say anything, he took off his helmet, looked me up and down with disdain, and said, "George, long time no see." "Yeah," I replied. He crossed his arms coolly, then asked, "Mom and Dad haven't called you once, have they?" I nodded. He smirked. "Want to know why?" I shook my head. He chuckled. "Actually, they did want to call you, but every time they tried, I told them maybe I should be the one to move out instead, and then they'd feel too guilty to call you." He leaned in slightly, his grin widening. "But the main reason? They're resentful toward you." I stayed silent, listening. Makoto could barely contain his laughter. "You've been home for so long, yet you treat Mom and Dad like strangers. You really think they wouldn't resent that?" Honestly, I didn't expect to win without even fighting. I was terrified you'd come back to compete with me for the inheritance. But instead, you just left and handed everything to me. "Really, thank you." He said all this while carefully watching my face, probing for a reaction, trying to figure out if I was naturally foolish or just choosing to step aside. I almost laughed. "Isn't he tired?" "I have something to do. I'll go first," I said calmly, putting on my jacket and heading toward my apartment. A girl with heavy makeup leaned close to Makoto and asked, "Babe, who's that?" Makoto sneered. "Who else? My cheap parents' biological son." The girl frowned and hissed, "Hey, Don't speak that way about Mr. and Mrs. Wang, Makoto scoffed, spat on the ground, and turned his bike around, speeding off without care. Clearly, he didn't respect our parents. He didn't even love them. I smiled faintly. Mom, Dad, you're the ones I pity the most. Chapter 11. During the summer break of my first year in high school, I decided to go home for a visit. But when I arrived, the house was empty. The housekeeper, who was cleaning the pool, told me, "Sir and Madam went on vacation to the seaside with the family. They left yesterday." She looked puzzled. "They didn't tell you?" I didn't answer. I just turned and left. Halfway back, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother on WeChat. "Mom, George, we're going on a seaside vacation for at least half a month. Do you want to come along?" I stared at the message, finding it absurd. They were probably already at the beach, and now she remembered to invite me. I thought for a moment, then deliberately replied, I'll go." There was a long silence. Then finally, her reply came, "Mom, George, then hurry home within half an hour. Your dad made a silly mistake with the tickets. We have to leave right away." Half an hour? Their villa was in the east of the city, while my school was in the west. Even by taxi, it would take nearly an hour. My mother was clever. That was her way of neutralizing my attack. I replied simply, I can't make it in time. You all go ahead." I smiled as I sent it. What was I laughing at? I honestly didn't know. Chapter 12. That summer, I didn't slack off. To prepare for the college entrance exam, I hired a private tutor and studied in advance. I spent nearly the entire vacation buried in books. When I got tired, I'd check my phone, scroll through social media. Every now and then, my parents' updates would pop up in my WeChat feed. They loved posting photo grids, 9 pictures at a time. One of them would be a selfie of the two of them. 1. A heavily filtered photo of my sister, Alicia, and the other 7. All Makoto. Makoto surfing, Makoto flying a helicopter, Makoto riding a jet ski, Makoto steering a yacht. He sure knew how to show off. And me? Just a clueless country bumpkin. Of course, I didn't care. Not anymore. Unlike in my previous life, when they deliberately left me behind and I, foolish and anxious, called them to ask if they had forgotten me. This time, I didn't. Now, I just gave every post a like, no matter who posted it. I'd tap that little thumbs up. A silent blessing. May you all be happy and well. Chapter 13. After the new semester began, I continued studying methodically, keeping a steady pace and climbing from average to the top 5 in my grade. In school, students with good grades always drew more attention. Soon, people started calling me the study god, and one day, I even received a love letter. A girl wrote that she admired how smart and humble I was, and that she thought I was handsome. I froze for a long time, completely dazed. The rest I could understand, but handsome? Who? Me? I turned to my deskmate and asked, "Do you think I'm handsome?" He rolled his eyes dramatically. "Ugh, stop showing off." Yeah, you're handsome." "Wait, what? Seriously?" I pulled out my phone and, for the first time in days, really looked at myself in the camera. And well, he wasn't wrong. I didn't look like that dark, skinny, malnourished monkey anymore. My features had grown sharper, more defined. I had changed, actually changed. Maybe it was because I'd stopped draining myself emotionally, and my spirit had begun to heal, which showed on my face. Turns out, when a man starts treating himself better, when he learns to love himself first, everything changes. As I stared at the reflection on my phone, I forgot to blink. My eyes grew hot and stung with tears. My deskmate gasped, "Dude, did you just cry because you realized how handsome you are?" Chapter 14. My grades kept improving day by day, and as they did, I too began to change. I didn't pay much attention to it, because as I grew older, my desire for independence grew even stronger, especially after entering my final year of high school. I often dreamed of pulling off a loser's comeback, of building my own career, standing tall at the top of the world, with everyone looking up at me. How laughable my past life had been. 3 entire years, completely wasted. All I did was beg for attention, for love, from my family. I just wanted parents who loved me. But on my 18th birthday, I ended that miserable life by leaping from a rooftop. 18. It's a special age. I knew something big would happen that day. And sure enough, early that morning, my mother called. It was the first call in half a year. The last one had been on New Year's Eve, asking me to come home for the family reunion dinner. I hadn't gone back. I just made dumplings by myself in my apartment. I picked up the phone. My mother's cheerful voice came through. "Son, it's been such a long time. Mom's been afraid of disturbing your studies, so I didn't dare call you." I answered faintly, indicating I understood. Then she got to the point. "It's like this. We're planning to send Makoto abroad for college. Do you have any thoughts about that? Would you like to study abroad too? Her words stirred up a storm inside me, dragging me back to that blood-colored sunset, the day I died. She had asked me the same question then. Do you want to study abroad? And I had said, yes, after 3 years of torment. I was neither fully human nor ghost, weak, pitiful, broken, but I clung to Makoto with all my strength. I refused to accept it. Why could a fraud steal the life that should have been mine? Why was I the dove in someone else's nest? I was their real son. So, when Makoto was to study abroad, I wanted to go too. I couldn't bear to fall behind. I still remember clearly the way my parents' expression shifted slightly. Just like the day I first returned home and chose Makoto's room. Chapter 15. Deep down, I already knew. They weren't really asking for my opinion. They were just going through the motions. They had no intention of sending me abroad, but I was blinded by anger. I couldn't let go. I had to cling to Makoto. My mother sighed softly. George, studying overseas isn't easy. If you just waste time, you'll fail your classes. Besides, your English isn't good, and you haven't been studying seriously these past few years. How could I have studied in peace? Even though I had biological parents, I never truly had a home. I didn't argue. I just said coldly, I want to study abroad. Our family isn't short on money. Send me. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught Makoto's smirk. My father lit a cigar and spoke in a low, heavy tone. It's not about money. Sending you abroad means paperwork, arrangements, and coordination. Too much trouble. He didn't want to be bothered. I can handle the paperwork myself, I said. It won't trouble anyone. My father snorted impatiently. What do you know, country boy? If you cause trouble overseas, who's going to clean up your mess? We're all busy. Try using your brain for once. Rage burned inside me. I snapped. If everyone's so busy, aren't you afraid Makoto might cause trouble abroad too? You. My father's face darkened. He was so angry he snapped his cigar in half. Alicia shook her head and said coldly, what nonsense. Makoto's well-behaved. He's not the kind of person who stirs up trouble. I shot back. Well-behaved. He was drunk driving and almost killed someone. How long ago was that? In the next instant, Makoto put on a pained expression and said, brother, why would you curse me like that? Are you wishing me to die in a car crash overseas? My father's face turned thunderous. Without another word, he stood up and slapped me hard across the face. George, he roared, are you looking for death? Chapter 16. Blood trickled from the corner of my mouth after that slap, and the emotions I had bottled up for so long finally exploded. Like a beast gone mad, I roared. Who the hell do you think you are to hit me? It was you who asked me whether I'd go abroad. You asked me. You've never treated me like family, never. You'd be happier if I were dead. Is that it? Will you only be satisfied when I die? Everyone was stunned for a moment, then their shock turned into humiliation and rage. My mom dropped her fake kindness and snapped. George, what's wrong with you? Have you no shame? My dad ordered the maids to leave, then commanded, shut your mouth. You're a son of the Wong family, not some street thug. My sister just rolled her eyes, saying nothing. My lips trembled violently, my fingers shook, and soon my whole body followed. After all these years, I didn't even know why I was still alive. In my mind, I saw my adoptive mother on her hospital bed for the last time, holding my hand weakly as she whispered, study hard. When mommy gets better, I'll cook your favorite dishes again. But my father was gone, and then she followed him, leaving me to drift alone in this world. I thought I had finally found a home, only to realize I'd been lying to myself all along. My thoughts were a blur, grinding my teeth. I asked again, will you only be satisfied when I die? Yes, go to hell. Then, my sister sneered, her voice dripping with disgust. My parents waved their hands impatiently. Get out. I stopped trembling. Even my heart seemed to stop beating. A strange calm filled me, empty yet powerful. I turned and bolted upstairs. 5 flights. In one breath. No one stopped me. No one cared. I reached the rooftop and ran straight to the edge. As I climbed over the railing, one of the maids below screamed, George, don't do anything rash. Everyone in the villa came out to watch. My parents and Alicia stepped outside. Makoto was still laughing, mocking, proud, amused. The wind lashed against me. My body shivered hot and cold. My mom cursed at me. Jump then. When will you ever learn to behave? So many servants were watching. She thought I was humiliating her. How disgraceful. Right. My dad was so furious he couldn't speak. He just waved his hand furiously, signaling for me to jump. He shouted, if you've got the guts, then do it. My sister tried to stop me, but her tone was dripping with sarcasm. Don't jump here, she sneered. You'll dirty the floor. I gave a bitter smile. Sorry, for dirtying your floor. I closed my eyes and leapt. Chapter 17. I was dead. My legs were shattered to pieces. My skull cracked open, and not a single breath remained in me. My soul drifted above, and to my surprise, I felt satisfied. I glared fiercely at that pile of broken flesh that used to be me, and at my so-called family standing around it. If I could still speak, I would have screamed, "See, I'm dead now. Are you satisfied?" I imagined them finally regretting it, finally realizing what they had done, but they didn't. My father dismissed all the maids, then shook his head coldly and spat, "Childish." My mother trembled slightly, but not a single tear fell. She only pressed her lips together and sighed deeply. What a foolish child, too foolish. Yet behind that sigh, there was relief. She had finally rid herself of the burden that was me. My sister let out a disgusted ugh, and told my father to call someone to clean up the corpse. The only one who looked grief-stricken, almost to the point of tears, was Makoto. His voice rasped, "Bro, why were you so impulsive?" But in his eyes, I could see nothing but triumph. He was finally free of worry. My family all said it wasn't his fault, that I had brought it upon myself. I stared blankly for a long while, then began to fade away. George, how could you be so stupid? Chapter 18. The searing pain of death still lingered, making me shiver. My thoughts snapped back. On the phone, my mother's voice asked gently, "Son, why are you so quiet? Tell me, do you want to study abroad?" I replied, "No," I said curtly. "I still have class. I'm hanging up now." She sighed. "Ah, you really never want to trouble us, do you? Son, your dad and I love you very much. We just hope you can study overseas and broaden your future." Her words were kind, persuasive. I hung up, and went back to studying. Chapter 19. After Makoto went abroad, my college entrance exam was just around the corner. For many rich kids, the exam was nothing more than a minor obstacle, something they could easily skip, but for me, it was the most important turning point of my life. With the confidence of being the top student in my grade, I was aiming for the best university in the entire country. I was certain of victory. When I walked out of the exam hall, tears streamed down my face. My deskmate rolled his eyes like a dead fish and said, "What the hell are you crying for? Got moved to tears by your own handsomeness again?" I was speechless, but after his comment, I actually went to check a mirror, and, well, what do you know? After admiring myself for half an hour, I nodded in approval, not because I'd gotten any more handsome, but because, for once in this lifetime, I finally looked like someone who was truly alive. There was still a bit of money left in my bank card, so I decided to reward myself with a trip to the seaside. It was the first time in 3 years that I had gone anywhere far. I took 2 photos, one of the ocean, one a selfie. Then, for the first time ever, I posted a social update. I didn't know what to write for the caption, so I just added a grinning emoji. My mom was the first to like it. She commented, "George, is this really you?" I replied, "Yeah." She asked again, "Really? You've changed so much." "Yeah, so much that even my own mother couldn't recognize me." My dad didn't like the post. Instead, he sent me a WeChat message, "Where did you go?" I said, "To see the sea." He paused for a while before replying, "You could have told us your sister wanted to go too. Would have been nice to go as a family." I didn't respond. That evening, my sister liked my post as well. She commented, "Need me to help with another makeover? I'll turn you into a real heartthrob." I ignored her. Chapter 20. Before the exam results were released, I went out to work. After half a month, my mom finally found out where I was by asking my teacher. She scolded me over the phone. "Son, why do you always run off without saying a word? If something happened, we wouldn't even know. Come home, there's no need for you to take some part-time job." I said, "It's fine, I just want to earn some tuition money. College life costs a lot." She laughed in exasperation. "Do you think our family is short on tuition money?" Of course we are. In 3 years of high school, I had never once asked them for money, and they had never once offered any. The cash gifts I received during holidays had kept me afloat for all 3 years. I smiled but said nothing. Then she suddenly seemed to realize something and hurriedly asked, "Your dad, he never gave you any allowance?" I answered, "No, not even once." After saying that, I hung up, too busy. The production line couldn't run without me. Chapter 21. The day the results came out, the whole school erupted in celebration. I had achieved my goal. I got into Peking University. Not only that, I was the top scorer in the entire city, and even got interviewed by the local TV station. My homeroom teacher was so moved that she burst into tears, praising me again and again as a genius. I smiled quietly, but then, my smile froze, because my parents showed up. The teacher had invited them for a group photo. My mom was so excited she could barely stop smiling. Even my dad, usually stern and cold, was chatting amiably with the officials, shaking hands, boasting proudly. Apparently, Being the city's top scorer was a title prestigious enough to please even the wealthy. I turned and left. I didn't want to be in any photo with them. As I walked out of the school gate, a red Ferrari pulled up, and a tall woman stepped out. Alicia. We looked at each other. She froze for a second, then asked, "Didn't Mom and Dad say they came to find you? Where are you going by yourself?" I replied, "I'm hungry, going to eat." Then I kept walking, heading toward a small restaurant nearby. Inside, mapo tofu cost 12 yuan, and stir-fried pork with green peppers cost 13. They were my favorite dishes. Usually, I would only order one and eat it with rice, but today, I splurged, ordered both, and I ate. Alicia came in after me, coughing hard from the chili smoke. Covering her mouth and nose in disgust as she sat beside me, she said disdainfully, "You actually eat this stuff?" I nodded. "It's good." Her brows furrowed tightly, and she fell silent for a moment. Then, as if remembering something, she added, "Makoto's living way better than you. He gets over 200,000 yuan a month abroad, and I heard he parties every day." I kept eating my tofu, seeing I didn't react. Alicia suddenly pulled a bank card from her bag and handed it to me. She said, "You're the city's top scorer now. As your sister, I'll reward you with this card. There's 100,000 yuan in it. It's just what was left after I bought a handbag yesterday. Take it." How generous. She rewarded me with half a month of Makoto's allowance. I didn't take it. She left the card on the table, looked at me for a long moment, then quietly walked away. Chapter 22. I took that bank card back to the villa and placed it on the coffee table. Then, I packed the last of my belongings, ready to head north, to the capital, a place as vast as the sky and as boundless as the sea. Just as I was leaving, my parents returned home. Their faces were grim. When they saw me, they forced down their anger and demanded, "George, why didn't you stay for the group photo? The school officials were looking for you everywhere. Do you want us to lose face?" I replied calmly. I didn't know there was going to be a photo. I gave a brief explanation and started walking toward the door. My father took a deep breath, his eyes locked tightly on me. My mother suddenly grabbed my hand, her eyes wet as she said, "George, do you hate us? It's been 3 years, and you've never once smiled at us. Now you've been admitted to Peking University, and you didn't even share your joy with us. We're your biological parents." Biological parents? I stopped. My gaze on her was faint, detached, the way one looks at a stranger. Countless memories swirled in my mind. And in the end, they all settled into a calm, still well, not a single ripple. I said softly, "You're mistaken. I just wasn't born someone who smiles a lot." Absurd. My father's voice trembled with fury as he unleashed his patriarchal authority. "George, ever since you came home, you've been against us. We waited 10 years to have you back, 10 years. All we wanted was to be close to you, but you, always that cold face. You can't even get along with Makoto. What? Do you think we owe you something?" "That's right, you do owe me." For the first time in a long while, something rippled inside me, a single drop that spread outward, turning into waves, and finally, into a raging storm. I stared at my furious father, at my sorrowful mother. Then I asked, "If, on the day I came home, I had chosen Makoto's room, would you have agreed?" They froze for a moment, then quickly nodded. "Of course, you could have stayed anywhere you wanted," I said. "Then call Makoto right now. Tell him I want his room." I set my suitcase down. They stiffened, eyes darting nervously. My father hesitated. It's late in America. Makoto's probably asleep." "A good excuse," I continued. "Then what about the time you went to the seaside? If I'd told you to wait for me, would you have waited?" "Of course," my mom jumped in. "Didn't I say we should wait? It was your dad, he bought the wrong tickets." I was furious about that. I smiled faintly. "That day, I came back. You'd left the day before." Her face went pale, her throat tightened as if someone had grabbed it. I pressed on. "On my 18th birthday, if I had insisted on going abroad, would I have gotten 200,000 yuan a month, like Makoto, to live freely overseas?" "Yes," my father said firmly. "Good," I said. "Then I'll go abroad now. Please help me with the paperwork, and tell Makoto I'll be coming." My gaze darkened. My father froze again, stammering, "That might not be proper. Let's, discuss it with Makoto first, after he wakes up." I laughed, picked up my suitcase, waved my hand, and said only one word, "Goodbye." No one chased after me. Only 2 people stood there, ashamed and anxious, watching me walk away. Chapter 23. After enrolling at Peking University, I became even more diligent, because I wanted to become a powerful CEO standing at the peak of the mountain, not a self-pitying, real young master wasting his life away. In my sophomore year, Alicia came to the capital with some friends. She dropped by to see me. The first thing she did was complain. "Makoto's getting worse and worse abroad, completely out of control." I asked her what happened. She hesitated for a long time before finally muttering. He's gone astray. Gambling, drugs, women, he's done it all. Our parents had already flown over to bring him back by force. I smiled faintly and said nothing. That winter, right before the new year, my parents returned home with Makoto. Makoto had rotted completely. He'd always been bad, just good at pretending while at home. Once he left, free and rich beyond measure, his wildness bloomed unchecked. He spent money recklessly and lived like a beast unchained. Even after coming back, he refused to change. He partied day and night, and often clashed violently with our parents. One night, my mom suddenly video called me. I was half asleep, having just gotten up to use the bathroom. So I answered. On the screen, her hair was a mess, her cheeks swollen red, her eyes filled with despair and exhaustion. I asked, "What happened?" She burst into tears. "Your brother, he brought several women home in the middle of the night to mess around. It was disgusting." I scolded him, and he hit me. Look at my face. Her swollen face looked almost comical. I stayed silent. She wiped her tears, voice trembling with misery. "Your father's away on a business trip. I can't handle him alone. Heaven must be punishing us. We never should have spoiled him. I thought he was just playful. But he's selfish, stubborn, hopeless." She went on, pouring out her grievances, but I was too tired, listening to her crying and rambling apologies. I drifted off to sleep, half conscious. I could still hear a broken voice sobbing. "Son, are you asleep? Mom just wants to say." "I'm sorry." I turned over and hung up the call. Too noisy. Chapter 24. While Makoto was turning the house upside down, I was soaring forward in the nation's top university. I became my professor's favorite student. My name appeared in academic journals, and I spoke confidently at national conferences. By senior year, I was already a rising star, a name admired and discussed across the field. My parents, surprisingly, had been keeping tabs on me all along. They would often send messages, praising me, calling me the pride of the Wang family. I never replied. That same year, my father fell ill. They said it was due to rage and stress. He'd vomited blood. My mother and sister begged me to come home, saying my father wanted to see me. I happened to be on break and planned to visit the seaside, passing through my hometown. I decided to stop by for a moment, but when I entered the villa, my mother didn't mention my father at all. Instead, she eagerly pulled me upstairs to the third floor. I asked, "What's going on?" She didn't answer, just led me into the largest, most spacious room, smiling brightly. "Look, son, we completely redecorated this room. Everything's new. Do you like it?" Indeed, the place looked completely different, brand new from floor to ceiling. I wasn't particularly interested, so I asked casually, "Makoto doesn't live here anymore?" At the mention of his name, my mother's face darkened. Her eyes clouded over. She said bitterly, "Live here? He doesn't deserve it. He's not even my real son." Her words surprised me for a second, but my mind wasn't really on that topic. I just gave a quiet "oh," and said I'd only stopped by and would be leaving soon. That made her anxious. She grabbed my hand tightly. "Why are you in such a hurry? You haven't even seen your father yet." "He didn't fall sick from anger, he was beaten." I raised an eyebrow. "Who dared to hit him?" "Makoto." She spat through clenched teeth. "That beast colluded with our business rivals, trying to steal confidential documents. When your father caught him, he shamelessly beat him up and stabbed him in the shoulder with a fruit knife." Quite the drama. I was laughing inside, but asked on the surface, "Did you call the police? Makoto should be in jail then." She shook her head. "We want to handle this ourselves. Anyway, that bastard Makoto, we're done with him." "Is that so?" Then they could handle it however they wanted. I noticed the time. It was getting late, so I got up to leave. My mother followed me to the door, pleading, "Stay for dinner. Your sister's bringing your father home from the hospital soon." And indeed, as she spoke, they arrived. My father came in, his shoulder bandaged, his face pale and weak. Alicia's face was flushed with anger and frustration. When they saw me, both of them smiled. My father spoke first. "George, you're back. I wasn't supposed to be discharged yet, but I insisted, just so I could see you." I nodded slightly, saying nothing. Alicia leaned closer, blinking playfully. "George, you're amazing. You're famous at Peking University now." She thought she looked cute. For a moment, I was dazed. So even the cold and arrogant Alicia could act like this. In both lifetimes, this was the first time I'd seen it. Seeing I didn't respond, she looked awkward and uncomfortable. My mom quickly stepped in to ease the tension. "It's rare for the family to be together. Come in. Let's have dinner." They surrounded me warmly, ushering me inside. I glanced at the time again and shook my head. "No," I said softly. "I don't want to miss the sunset." Chapter 25. I left again, After watching the sea, I returned to Peking University. By senior year, I had joined forces with a few friends to start a business. It wasn't an easy road, but it was meaningful. By my second year of graduate school, our venture finally began to pay off. I earned my first bucket of gold, 800,000 yuan. Life grew busier by the day, balancing academics and business. I often worked until I dropped, falling asleep the moment I hit the bed. I stopped paying attention to any messages from home. After graduating with my master's, my old partners and I officially registered a company. We had our own name, our own team, and our own place in the world. We didn't earn much, certainly nothing compared to my wealthy parents, but we were independent. And that sense of accomplishment was priceless. It was around then that I saw Makoto again. He came alone. The moment he saw me, he threw a punch. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and blocked it. Without hesitation, I punched back. He wasn't fast enough. My fist connected squarely, leaving him dazed, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He spat on the ground and snarled. So that's it, huh? The whole family's abandoned me. You happy now? I calmly took out a tissue and wiped my hand. Didn't respond. He gritted his teeth. George, you win. I never imagined that your distance from the family was part of a grand plan. Retreating just to advance. What a ruthless strategy. I sighed. Have you been watching too many TV dramas? Lifting my eyes to him, I added quietly. Did it ever occur to you that maybe I stayed away from the family, simply for my own sake? Bullshit, Makoto shouted, eyes wide with rage. Mom, Dad, even Alicia, they've all cut ties with me because of you. They don't recognize me anymore. You're the only son they acknowledge. I shook my head and called the police. The officers arrived soon after and took Makoto away. After giving my statement, I decided to inform my mother. When she heard my voice, she trembled with excitement. Son, you finally called. It's been years since you came home. How have you been? I heard you started a company. Are you tired? Are you? I cut her off. I called to tell you. Your son's at the police station. Come pick him up. What? I briefly explained the situation, intending to hang up. But she burst into tears. George, you're my son. Makoto's been banished. We don't want him anymore. I don't want to bring him home. I want to bring you home. Can I? No, I was busy, I replied. No. Chapter 26. After being named one of the top 10 outstanding young entrepreneurs of the capital, the year's end was approaching once again. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window in my CEO office, a glass of wine in hand, quietly savoring the view of the glittering city lights. At that moment, I was 30 years old. From 15 to 30, I had walked a road 15 years long. It hadn't been an easy one. Jumping off a building only takes 3 years, but to rise from nothing to the top of the mountain, that takes 12 more. And I was grateful that I had chosen those 12 years. 12 years had changed everything. The leading corporation of City C, the empire my parents built, had fallen. When the tree collapses, the monkeys scatter. Their downfall was miserable. Rumor had it they even mortgaged their villa. Makoto had gone to prison. After losing his financial lifeline, he got involved in dirty business, and took a life. He was sentenced to 20 years. As for Alicia, she had tried to save their company, using the family's remaining funds to start a new one. At this very moment, she was waiting outside to see me. She had been waiting since morning, until the night had fallen. My secretary knocked softly. Mr. Wang, that lady still refuses to leave. I nodded, put on my coat, and stepped out. When Alicia saw me, she forced a small, flattering smile, but her eyes brimmed with sorrow that could not be hidden. The once proud and dazzling heiress had lost all her light. When we met, she didn't call me George anymore. She greeted me formally. Good evening, Mr. Wang. I signaled to my secretary to pour her a glass of water, then smiled politely. Miss Wang, I've reviewed your proposal. I'm very sorry, but it doesn't meet my expectations. Her lips quivered, but she couldn't find the words to speak. I stood up and said lightly, well then, I'll be heading off. It's getting late. That was when she finally spoke, her voice trembling. Dad and Mom miss you so much. Could you visit them? They talk about you every day. I paused. Before I could respond, she sniffled, her voice breaking as tears welled up. You've changed so much. You're like a stranger now, but we're still family, aren't we? Could you please not be so heartless? I turned and looked at her. And once again, the image from my past life came to me. Alicia slapping me across the face, calling me a bastard child. I smiled. When I was 15, I said quietly, I never begged you not to be heartless. So now, you shouldn't beg me not to be. That was my answer. Alicia froze, lowering her head, her spirit completely broken, and I yawned. Stepping out into the lazy glow of the night, humming softly, I walked toward the future that awaited me. A future filled with peace, confidence, and self-love. That broken body, once lying in a pool of dirty blood, no longer needed to beg for anyone's love. He had gathered his strength, stood up, smiled proudly, and finally learned to love himself.